Hello, my name is Audrey Shoemaker. I'm one of the librarians here at Walter State, and my job is to help you find a resource anytime you need one for an assignment where you have to cite sources or consult other resources for information about the topic that you're writing about. In this video, I'll be showing you how to find an academic journal article to use for your academic article review that you're writing for your psychology course. It can be difficult to find specific types of sources when we're doing research. Most of the time when we need basic information about something, we can go to Google or any of the other places we're comfortable doing our basic research, and basic skills will help us find the things we need on the internet. However, in a class where you're asked to find scholarly, academic, or peer-reviewed information for your papers, your assignments, your projects, you want to learn how to use Walter State's databases to locate reliable information that fits the criteria you're asked to satisfy for the assignment. The only real place you can find good academic journal articles reliably and quickly is through our databases here at Walter State. You can try finding them on Google Scholar, but frequently you do not have access to the whole article. Academic journal articles are something the library buys and provides for your access. So, before we get too much further, if you struggle with anything that I show you in this video, you're welcome to contact me. You can call me at the library at 423-585-6848. You can email me at audrey.shoemaker@ws.edu. Or you can always look in your eLearn class list. I'm frequently in there as a research coach, and you can send me an email straight through eLearn. The first thing you should do when you're starting your academic research is to go to the library website. It's library.ws.edu. When you get to the library website, the first thing you should do is click on the A to Z database list. Databases are a different type of resource when you're looking for information. When we search on Google, we put our search terms in, and we're given a list of hundreds of thousands of results usually, and they're ordered by popularity. That means the ones that people click on the most are the ones that we see first. This doesn't mean they're the most reliable, and it's really difficult at first glance to tell if they fit the criteria that's necessary for assignments. Most of the time, they also will not be academic journal articles, as academic journal articles are written by experts for experts. They tend to be a conversation between just a few people at the highest levels of a field, so it's not something that most people are looking for when they're when they're just on the internet in a browser. Instead, if you're asked to find scholarly or peer-reviewed or academic journal articles, you should go to the databases. A database is a defined collection. It's finite. It doesn't keep growing just like the internet does, and people can't just add things to it willy-nilly. Instead, it's a finite collection, almost like a file cabinet, where things have been specifically placed in there because they meet certain criteria and highly organized so that you can find them again. This means that we have to understand how to search a database to get our information back, but it also means that we can be very specific about the criteria that we're seeking. And it also means that the things that come back to us are highly specified to our search. They're really reliable and they're relevant to the terms that we put in. Academic databases are frequently about one topic and only one topic, so we need to make sure that we're finding the one that's most likely to have resources about the topic we're researching. The best way you can do that at Walter State is to go to the All Subjects button and find the section that is about the discipline you're studying in. I'm going to click on psychology. The databases in this list are most likely to have psychology articles, so I'm going to use one of these. The one that I find most useful for classes like this is Academic Search Premier. It's the first database. This is the front page of the database, and as you can see, it does not look like a Google front page. There's not a single box, and I have to know some very specific ways to search within it. The first thing I want to do is make sure that Academic Search Premier is searching through the articles that are psych articles. So I'm going to choose this All Databases option. And I'm going to go through the list of databases and make sure that the ones that are likely to have psychology articles in them are being searched. That means I want to go to the psych articles, the Psychology and Behavioral Sciences collection, and maybe the Social Sciences collection as well. You may also want to choose things like education and ERIC, depending on the type of resource or the type of subject you've chosen. If it's education-based, both of these would be helpful as well. I'm going to click OK. All right, you'll notice that there are multiple search boxes and some tools surrounding them in the database, and that looks different from a main browser search option. The first thing you want to do is think, what am I really searching about, or what is my topic? So let's say I chose to do I want to find an article on sleep disorders. That's what I find interesting. I can type that specific term into here, but because I've got more than one term, I want to put quotation marks around it. If I don't, the database will look for those individual words all through all the articles in the database. That means that all the articles that mention sleep and all the articles that mention disorders. And because we're looking at psych articles, that's going to be a lot of articles. So if I want the database to look for the two words together, then I have to tell it that by putting quotation marks around it. If I had a single term, I wouldn't need to use this. Let's say I'm searching for anorexia. However, there are still other things I can do. Let's say I'm doing that search for anorexia, but I'm really just interested in eating disorders more generally. I might add another eating disorder to it. And I could go over here and say, it doesn't have to mention both of these things. It can mention either one of them, and that article will come back to me. Or I can be more general and go back here and just put in eating disorders. Lastly, this doesn't only work if you only have two words. When I was a kid, I had a weird sleep condition when I had a fever called, not Arthur Miller, Alice in Wonderland syndrome. The database will look for that entire phrase. I'm going to go back to my eating disorders search. Now, a couple other things I want to specify. The first, it should always be clicked right here to say full text. It's a default setting, but if for some reason it's not clicked, make sure you do click it. You don't want to find articles where you can't read the whole text all at once. You don't want to have to interlibrary loan something. You should click the scholarly or peer-reviewed journals article if your professor has asked for articles that are scholarly or peer-reviewed or academic. This basically means that these articles were published by experts in the field in journals that other experts read, and they're full of information that's really specific to experts, how they do their research, how they communicate their research. These are not Time magazine articles, they're not People magazine articles, you wouldn't find them on a newspaper. These are specific articles meant to show the discussion between experts in the field on the topic. Lastly, if your professor has said you need to keep articles within the last 5 years or so, you'll want to put that particular requirement in here. If you put it in this box right here, it will tell the database, I don't want any articles older than 2014. Let's go ahead and click search. All right, I have almost 5,000 results. And maybe that's fine. Maybe one of these is useful to me and that is enough. But maybe I want to restrict my search even more. Maybe I'm interested in a specific group of people. Maybe I'll add children to that. I'm really interested in eating disorders and children. What this does is creates almost like a Venn diagram out of my results. One circle says eating disorders, one circle says children, and where those two circles intercept, that's the results that I'm going to get. All my articles have to mention eating disorders as a phrase and children. Let's click search. I should have fewer, correct? And I do. It took out about 3/4 of the articles that I found before. All of these articles should be academic journal articles, but I'm going to show you a couple things to check for once you've chosen one so that you know you've chosen an article that you're allowed to use for your assignment. Children exposed to marital conflict exhibit more disordered eating behaviors. Let's choose that one. A few really good tip-offs that you have found in an academic journal article. First, you won't find advertisements and you won't find lots of pictures. You may find a couple at most, and those are usually articles about like education or something like that. For the most part, the only images you will find are charts, graphs, tables, things like that. You can check over here for the title of the source. As you can see, it's not People magazine, it's the Journal of Child and Family Studies. The tip-off is the word journal, of course. Some might say bulletin. There's a couple other words that might tip you off, but if it sounds like an academic title, it's most likely an academic journal title. Right here, this tells me that it's 2017, so I know I stayed within that 5-year mark that I was shooting for. A couple other things. The first thing, this is an abstract, this chunk right here. This is a summary of the article. It is very useful for telling me how the study was conducted and what the basic results are. Basically a thesis statement, what happened in this study. I should never quote it in a paper. It's not part of the actual paper. It is just a summary. So be careful about using an abstract as a source. You want to make sure you pull your material from the article itself. A lot of times you'll have an introduction, you'll see citations throughout it. Any academic journal article should have these within parentheses. They tell you where the resources were pulled from to build the information in the article. Lots of citations throughout this article. Next, a psych article should tell you the method. That means how they conducted the study, how many participants, where they did it, did they interview people, was it a sleep study, something like that. So a method is very important for understanding how the study took place. There's a data analysis in this one, which tells me kind of like what materials they collected and a result, and it tells me the results of the study. The most important part, of course, for me, when trying to understand the purpose of this study, is the discussion. It tells you the broader importance of the study. So it's a very useful tool in helping you to understand and discuss the article. Lastly, there should be a list of references. If you've found an article that doesn't have a list of references, it is not an academic journal article and therefore not appropriate for this assignment. Once you've decided to use the article, there are some tools that you can use to make your life a whole lot easier. The first one, you have to cite your articles in APA style. So go over here to the right-hand side, and the 5th icon down says Cite. If you click on it, it will give you a citation for the article you chose. You'll need to scroll down to get the correct style, APA, and you can transfer that to your references page. I'm just looking at this one. I would want to take out that contact information. I'm assuming it's because it was entered as part of his name and that's why it's showing up. So it is not foolproof, but it does give you a big leg up on having your citation correct when it's time to put it into your paper. So copy and paste that. Next, you'll want to save the article some way. There are 2 different ways you can do this. First, you can go over here and just download it as a PDF. Make sure to name it well so you can find it again. Or you can email it to yourself. My personal preference. Click on email, put your email right there, and then change this from MLA to APA, and it will send the full article plus the citation to your email box, and you will have it anywhere you have access to an internet connection. It's my personal preference for saving things. All right, if you have any questions about how to find an academic journal article for this assignment, please do not hesitate to contact me and I will help you find one. Good luck!